Massive tax cuts, deep spending slashes, social security changes, immigration crackdowns, and a brand new Trump account for kids. This isn't just like a political stunt, it's a 900-page overhaul of how America taxes, spends, and really survives. And if you're a taxpayer, if you're a retiree, if you're a business owner, if you're a parent, or just someone trying to figure out what is going on in Washington, make sure you go ahead and stick with me to the end of this video, because this is going to affect your paycheck, your benefits, your healthcare, and your future. So I'm going to break down exactly what's in this new tax bill and how to be able to prepare for it before it actually impacts your wallet. All right, so let's get straight into it. And it's not a small tweak in the tax code, it's almost a complete reset. So Trump signed a nearly 900-page tax and spending bill right on his self-imposed July 4th deadline. The bill is a mix of permanent tax cuts, temporary deductions, there's controversial budget priorities, and a sweeping rewrite of what gets federal money and what doesn't. So the Senate passed it literally by a hair. JD Vance had to cast the tiebreaker, and the House passed it by 4 votes. This is as political as it gets. All right, so bottom line, this bill is Trump's new blueprint for America. So slashing taxes, regulation reversing, and safety net shaking. All right, so what is this going to mean as it relates to your taxes? All right, so from my personal perspective, the tax planning just got a curveball. All right, so the bill actually locks in the 2017 tax cut. So that means that there's going to be lower individual tax rates. Those are going to continue to stay permanent. Those are actually going to expire this year, so those are going to continue to stay permanent. The corporate tax reductions are going to remain untouched, but millions of families will see no change if they fall under these certain income thresholds. All right, so one new tax perk is going to include a $6,000 deduction for seniors earning under $75,000. Temporary deductions for tips, overtime, car loans are going to be aimed at blue collar workers. The child tax credit actually jumps up to $2,200, but not everyone gets the full amount for that. And here's the thing. Most of the savings favor businesses and higher income earners, right? So according to the CBO, the wealthiest households gain actually $12,000 a year, while the poorest end up losing $1,600, largely due to cuts in Medicaid and food assistance. So as this relates to senior Social Security and COLA troops, all right, so this is going to be important, right? You've probably heard the headlines, Trump ends Social Security taxes, but here's the truth, right? That didn't happen exactly, right? So what did happen is that a $6,000 deduction for older adults under a certain income threshold level, that is going to be who's impacted by this, right? So even more relevant for the 2025 COLA is going to be a 2.5%, right? So that means that the average Social Security recipient is going to see about a $50 a month bump, but inflation hasn't exactly paused, all right? So there's a lot of critics arguing that retirees are still going to be behind inflation. So one strategic tip is, if you're retired or you're going to retire soon, this is your signal to reevaluate your withdrawal strategy and how you're going to be pulling out money. All right. So there is Roth conversions that you want to consider, and really understanding how you could be able to optimize your deductions. All right, so as it relates to Medicaid, SNAP, and safety net cuts, so here's the scary part, right? To fund these cuts, the bill actually cuts Medicaid and SNAP benefits. So over 11 million people may lose insurance by 2034. 3 million could actually lose food aid, and there's going to be new rules that include an 80-hour a month work requirement, even for adults up to the age of 65, and a $35 Medicaid copay with this. All right, so parents of teens over the age of 14 must now work to be able to qualify for the benefits. All right, so my personal take on it as it relates to this: if you are low income, disabled, or part of the working poor, this isn't a tax cut, it's actually a resource shift away from you. All right, so it also includes border wall, ICE expansion, and national security, right? So this is going to be a kind of different kind of spending spree. So 350 billion is going to go towards immigration and national defense, right? So Trump wants 100,000 migrant detention beds, all right? So that's going to be 10,000 new ICE officers with signing bonuses, and the goal is to deport 1 million people annually, right? Plus the Golden Dome missile defense system gets 25 billion. It's going to be a military version and vision for the federal priorities, right? So they're going to have more walls, more officers, and even more firepower as it relates to this. There's also going to be cuts as it relates to climate changes and energy shifts, right? So this is going to really surprise a lot of people, but the bill actually completely gets rid of these clean energy tax credits. So the EV tax breaks, those are actually going to expire in September 2025. The solar and wind credits, those are going to get cut, and they're pretty much going to be gone. Meanwhile, coal is actually going to get expanded, and it's going to get more tax benefits, all right? So there was a senator that said, called it a death sentence for America's renewables, right? So if you're into clean energy, this change is going to pretty much be an impact, have an impact over the next 5 years, and that's just what it is, all right? So the Trump accounts and the cultural funding, things that are going on as it relates to this. So here's something that really stood out, right? So the bill introduces the Trump accounts, all right? So it's a kid savings accounts seeded with $1,000 from the Treasury, and also included 40 million for a National Garden of American Heroes. So elimination of taxes on gun silencers. So there's going to be a new tax on university endowments and international money transfers. There's also, as it relates to this, is that there's going to be economic policy with cultural signaling built in. All right. So as it relates to the national debt and the magic math, so the CBO says that this adds 3.3 trillion to the deficit by 2034, but Senate Republicans claim that it could reduce the deficit by 500 billion by pretending that certain tax breaks were already permanent, right? So critics call it Enron style accounting, and don't let Washington's math impact your finances, right? Make sure you actually know your real numbers, track them, and know the plan with some verified tools, all right? So let's assume that you're a smart planner, right? Because you're here, and here's your playbook, right? So seniors, use the $6,000 deduction, and you want to revisit the Roth strategies. Families, you want to check your eligibility for the new child tax credit, but plan for volatility as it relates to this. If you're a low income worker, prepare for new work rules. Use community support programs that are out there for you. Business owners, make sure you go ahead and use and leverage 100% expensing and the R&D write-offs before they phase out. And if you want to be able to learn more about this, I have a link to be able to go ahead and speak to myself and my team. And really, this is a huge shift and a huge moment right now that we're going through and experiencing in the new America that this bill is building. There's going to be some winners, there's going to be some losers, and your future really depends on knowing the difference, right? And you don't have to just survive these changes, right? With the right plan, you can actually thrive. So make sure you go ahead and subscribe. Make sure you share this video with someone that you believe could benefit from it, and I'll continue to give you more updates as it relates to this, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.